Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Theresa Bullard and I am here. I have a special opportunity today to be here with my mother, Professor Barbara Bullard, who's been a professor of speech and communications at Orange Coast Community College in California for over 53 years. 53 years. And she's been my mother, but she's also been the mentor to so many people in this world. She has a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience and knowledge to share. And so we thought it would be a fun way to cap off this series that I've been doing on women's empowerment, because a part of women's empowerment, number one, is being a mother and also being sort of the wise, grandmother energy, as well as being somebody who is a woman that has passed on the baton, so to speak, of women's empowerment to the next generation. So we thought we would have a fun conversation of, what that looks like, and also how we came to be in our own flow of that feminine empowerment being passed on and educated. So, Mom, one of the things, first of all, that I'd like to maybe discuss or have you share some of is your experience as a mother. And some of the biggest tips that you can maybe offer other women who are going through some of the various ups and downs and challenges of motherhood. Because one of the things I noticed in you raising us was, you had 4 kids to raise, every single one, very different personalities, very different talents and gifts, and yet you really loved everyone as they were, and accepted everyone as they were and as we are, and didn't try to create comparisons like you should be more like your sister. You didn't do any
God
of that.
forbid I would do that one.
Yes. So and also that you really supported and nurtured and held space for us to find our own way, to find our own path, and to really discover what our passion and gifts are that we wanted to pursue. So I found that you've been, very exemplary in that sense of accepting each person as they are and nurturing and ushering them forward into supporting them to become the people they're meant to be versus who you think they should be. Is there anything you could maybe say or advise on what inspired you to raise us in that way?
Well, that's how I was raised, by my own mother, who was raised by her grandmother. So we come from a whole lineage of empowered women. But I also say, as a mother who was teaching full-time, empowering the kids, what really helped was being married to a wonderful man who was very strongly supportive. So when I had to go teach, he would pick up all of you people, kids from your various things, schools, all of you were in athletics. So we never missed. We both worked full time, but we never missed any kind of an athlete
Any
competition, anything. So, yeah. But I think what I did it with my students as well, not just with my kids.
Right.
You look for what the talents are, and then whatever you all wanted to do, we got the money for it, and we tried to facilitate it up until you said, I don't want to do that anymore. And then I go, okay, well, what'd you like to do? Mm-hmm. So you were always the ones telling me where we went next.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I felt that you and Dad both very much almost took on like this sacred contract as a parent, that your job wasn't to tell us how to be, but your job was to nurture us to become the people we were meant to be, right, that our souls chose. Mm-hmm. And, can you share maybe a little bit about how your own spiritual journey had brought you to that realization of that sacred contract as a parent?
And that is very clear, because when Jay and I met, my husband, of course, your father, we were very active in the advocacy groups, and they talk about a sacred marriage. And so we went into the closest thing to heaven on earth as a family. Mm. So your dad was much more into having kids than I was, to tell you the truth. But I left myself open for it. And then and of course I was going to have a nuclear family.
What does that mean, a nuclear family? 2. Okay.
So after Christina came along, I literally had my tubes cut and tied. But, I'm into healing, and my tubes regrew, and so we had Stephen. And then John came. So I went from teaching full-time with 2 kids to 4 kids. And that became quite the challenge, I would say.
Yeah. So how did you find that balance? I mean, being a full-time professional and a teacher and having so many other people that you were helping and supporting who were your students, and then also balancing that with, family and a husband and raising kids and being there for sporting events and so forth. Like what would you say was the key to finding that balance while also having a sense of balance within yourself, not always just putting everyone else first, but also taking care of yourself?
I probably started taking care of myself not until about 27. Prior to that, I was trying to please everybody in the whole world. And then you finally decide that that's not possible, and you'll die young. So I became empowered. I found my own self-worth at about 27, 28, which was really fortunate because that's right before I met Jay, which challenged a lot of my self-esteem. I asked my mom, was I always this balanced? And she said, from 5 years of age, you were always somebody who nobody had to work hard at.
Well, that's nice for those of us who come in that way, right? But when anyone who knows you would know that you are very direct, you're very strong in your own mind, and you're not afraid to speak, what you think, and even if it challenges people. And, then with Dad being also very strong in his own ways of thinking, they're very different from yours. I mean, the two of you are like very polar in many ways, and yet you came together and you found a way to make your marriage work as a sacred contract for going on 50 years now. So what would you say were some of the biggest keys to your success in that union?
Patience.
Patience, feminine quality.
Mostly on my side. He was patient, but at first, he really did not like the fact that I was going to state my own opinion. And I did not back down. I don't back down in my classes. I don't back down with my colleagues. And, they need to argue their case and I will argue mine. So, but then afterwards, you get into useless arguments and I went, let's just agree to disagree. But as we went along and we got to 4 kids, I went, choose your battles, especially with Jay. We do not talk politics much, and that's been a godsend. But of course,
I would agree, no politics conversation.
But both of us come from a very spiritual background, not religious, spiritual. And so that really, I think, is the real glue that keeps everything together. But I am pretty patient, and Jay would agree.
So having that common spiritual foundation in your relationship has been really the bedrock.
Crucial.
The core values, even if the personalities and the politics and the view on certain things of the world have been very different, your core values have really ultimately been the same, that is based on that spiritual connection there. And from there, there's also, I would say, you've maybe, I don't know how it was in the very beginning when you were in your first couple of years before I came along, but, as you've had 50 years of marriage now, there's still the arguments, but there's almost like this, this is just our way. And, it doesn't, like, nobody takes offense to it. And there's also a maturing of knowing each other so deeply that you just kind of have this almost unspoken understanding of each other. I find that is really, beautiful, because both of you are an inspiration not only to me and to us as your children, but also to other people who have come into our family, whether they're friends or whether they've been some clients or students of mine, or, friends from high school or your own students. They come in and they see both you and my dad as role models and inspiration, and almost, they kind of connect to, in a way, supplement sometimes what they themselves wanted out of that role model of a strong woman, and that role model of, a strong man, but also who's very grounded. So one of the things that I also experienced personally in how you raised us was that while you were off, teaching and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and really advising your students, you'd advise us, but you never really imposed or asserted that knowledge and spiritual teachings in particular on us. You kind of gave us that freedom to find our own way. And only when we started to ask questions, the right questions, did you then open up and share those spiritual teachings with us. Now, a lot of other people maybe don't have that advantage.
Right.
They are indoctrinated. They are, it's required for them to go to church or to believe this is how it is. And they didn't necessarily have that good fortune of being able to really choose their own belief system from early on. And I really value that you gave us that freedom to make up our own mind about things.
Yeah.
And
I remember when Stephen and Christina both took my college class in communications. And as I would talk about things, they go, Mom, why didn't you ever teach that at home?
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, you never asked the questions. Mm-hmm. And so we'd get into this dialogue there. And then from then on, I started taking you to ARA camp and whatever. But I was imposed on. Mm-hmm. I was forced in a Baptist thing. And my dad died, and 18 people died from the time I was 21 to 22. And man, after you deal with that much death, the whole concept of heaven and hell did not fit with me. Mm. So that's where I began my search as I came out of the darkness of all the deaths. Mm. And it led me to every religion and philosophy on the face of the earth. Finally, at 28, when Jay and I got married and we came back to the Casey readings, I came back to a Christocentric spirituality. But as you know, we don't need to go to church. Mm-hmm. For a long time, our meditation groups, because we meditated for 20 years, and that was probably a really good thing too. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I remember when I was in my first year of college, prior to that point, high school and younger, you were just my mom. Mm-hmm. And I do remember, I was a little more conservative and shy as a youth, and I wanted to fit in. Mm-hmm. And here you would come very extroverted in your purple minivan, and you come pick us up at school, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's my mom. Because I just wanted to fit in, and you were just very much in your power. This is who I am, and not ashamed mm-hmm. to be shining that brightness. Mm-hmm. And often my friends would come to you also for advice, and I would kind of sometimes feel like, well, that's a little strange, but okay. And you really helped a lot of people. And it wasn't until I got into college and then I went on a tour with you in Texas that I got to see you in action for who you are as a person, helping others in the world, and to watch the benefit and the transformation and the compassion that you had, and yet the real wisdom that you were able to impart for people and then guide them through their own healing journey and through their own transformations and teach. And how much, on that trip, people would come and, oh, your mom is so great and she's really changed my life and all of this. And that was a real turning point for me in our relationship, because I was inspired by like, wow, my mom is helping all these people. And here I've always, and she's a fount of wisdom, and here I've always just seen her as my mom and never really known like the wisdom that is there. And now I do. So I started asking lots and lots of questions at that point. And I think that was when our relationship changed mm-hmm. from mother-daughter to maybe mentor mm-hmm. and daughter, and then eventually to friends. Mm-hmm. I really feel that I, as a woman, was very much empowered by seeing your example and inspired by seeing how much you made a difference in the lives of others. And I guess one of the things I've been sharing here about women's empowerment is how much fulfillment we get from service and helping others awaken to their power and potential. Could you share a little bit about that for yourself and your own journey? Just the fulfillment you've received from helping others and teaching. And
I just love teaching, as you know. But then I went into the Monroe Institute. But I loved being your mentor, because you'd call me and go, wow, I'm in New York with my friend, and the psychic said that I needed to read a book on alchemy. And I went, all right. So for Christmas, I got you your first book on alchemy. And then that started a lot. And so it's been nice when you ask the questions. I went and found what I would do. And then you became the teacher for Jay and I when we first went to the first alchemy conference. And then as you got into the mystery school, you are my favorite teacher. So, but a lot of people give me credit for how great you are, and I go, no, she came in that way. I might show her how to do intros and conclusions, but the rest of that, somebody's speaking through that woman, and you can see it as it happens. But it is a surprise to me because you were so quiet, so shy as a child. So it's sort of amazing watching this bursting forth. It's been empowering for me to see it, and I bring it up in my classes. I remember one time, because you would speak in front of class, and you were a little late, and Nate, one of the students, he goes, "Oh, she just walked into the building. I can feel her energies." And everybody goes, "You cannot." And right after that, you walk in and leave.
Wow.
That was after the mystery school started. So.
All right, well, thank you so much, and stay tuned because this is just part 1 of a 3-part conversation where we're going to dive deeper. So I hope you'll join us next time.